Welcome to our second lesson. As mentioned in the last lesson, the content browser is the first stop when working with content in UEFN. On the left side of the content browser is the folder view, which shows all of the items inside the project. Any content you add for a project will go into its content folder. The Fortnite and Epic folders have pre-existing assets to use, such as textures, materials, creative devices, props, and more. Head into the Fortnite folder and open the galleries. These contain props that fit a theme for your use in your project. You can pick a gallery by holding the left click while hovering over it, then move your mouse around the viewport to drag it around your world. Release the left click to place it. If you want to delete some items from the gallery, you can do so one at a time by selecting an item and pressing the delete key. You can select multiple items at a time by holding the Control key and selecting them in the viewport, or by holding Control and Alt to create a selection box around the items you want to select. If you select anything extra, like a ground tile, you can hold Control and click it to deselect the item. The outliner can be used to select or deselect items in the same way. Once all the items are selected, you can delete them as usual using the delete key. This item I kept is a little too big, so I can use the scale tool to resize it. You can find the scale tool in the top right of the viewport or by pressing the R key on your keyboard. If you click on any of the lines that appear on the item, you can scale it in one of three directions. You can also click and hold in the center to scale the item uniformly in all directions. This is how you can find props or items from Fortnite to use, but you might want to get custom content in your project. One way to do this is by using Fab. To access Fab, click the button on the toolbar at the top or right-click in the content browser and open it. Fab gives you access to both paid and free content, and you can search and filter for specific things you might want for your project. For example, if I wanted a wagon, I could search for one and find a free wooden wagon. I can then drag it into the level just as I did with the gallery earlier. This will download the asset and import it into the project, which may take some time. You can also click on the asset to add it to your content browser, or if the asset allows it, add the source files to the project so you can edit the asset yourself. Another type of asset you may want to use is one you've created yourself. The first step to importing your assets is to create a folder where they will be stored. I'll make this folder called Meshes, and then create a folder within it for my item, a hay bale. Now, if I right-click this folder and click Import, File Explorer will open, allowing me to navigate to where my asset is stored. After selecting it, an import menu will appear. I'll use the default settings to import this asset, but it is important to consider the settings as you import assets, since different settings may be crucial depending on the type of asset or to keep memory costs down. You can check the online documentation to learn more about importing assets. Once imported, if you double-click your mesh, the static mesh editor will open. The asset may not look exactly right since it might not have a material or texture assigned to it. To import them, click the Add button, go up to Import, select the textures you want, and hit Open. Once everything is imported, hit Save. Materials will be covered more in depth in a later part of this course, but if your asset was packaged with the material correctly, you should be able to drag it into the world properly. Now that my asset is imported and functioning correctly, I can drag it into the world as normal. If I want to duplicate and place multiple hay bales around, I can hold the Alt key and use a transform tool to move it in a new direction, creating a new hay bale. This asset was one I hadn't imported into a project yet, but once you start working in UEFN, you may have multiple projects with different assets already set up for use in the editor. For example, this is a game called Tilton Boone, and this pirate ship is a custom asset I've already set up correctly. I can take the pirate ship from this project and migrate it to another by finding its static mesh, right-clicking it, going to Asset Actions, and clicking Migrate. Then, find the content folder of the project you want to move it to, in this case, the First Hour project, and confirm. After migrating, if I open the First Hour project, I should find the newly migrated asset. One thing to know is that these are just static meshes. They won't be interactable in the game. To make them interactable, you can right-click in the content browser and select a blueprint class. From here, choose whether it should be a prop or a static mesh. In this case, It would be a prop since we want it to be interactable. I can then rename this blueprint Pirate Ship. By opening it, I can choose the Pirate Ship mesh and edit its settings. One thing to note is that you have to do this for any custom asset you want to be adjustable in creative edit mode. Without this step, you won't be able to move it around with the phone tool as normal. It's important to keep things organized in our outliner. Now that I have more assets in my level, I can right-click in the outliner to create folders and organize assets into different categories. In this course, we have seen how to work with content. Now that our pirate ship is ready, in the next lesson, we will see how to test this project in Fortnite. Bye until the next lesson.